Everything you've been told about happiness is wrong. You think it's something you earn, something you achieve, something you find. But what if I told you that happiness isn't missing from your life? You're just looking in the wrong places. What if the very search itself is what's keeping you from finding it? Most people spend their entire lives wearing masks. They wear them at work, they wear them with friends, they even wear them with themselves. But here's what nobody tells you. The mask you wear most often becomes your prison. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine meeting the happiest version of yourself. Not the version that has more money, not the version that weighs 20 pounds less, not the version that drives a better car or lives in a bigger house. I'm talking about the version of you that radiates genuine contentment from the inside out. That person exists right now, in this very moment. They're not some fantasy living in a distant future. They're buried beneath layers of conditioning, fear, and false beliefs about who you think you should be. You see, happiness isn't something you achieve, it's something you uncover. It's already there, waiting for you to stop looking in all the wrong places. For decades, I believed happiness was a destination. I thought if I could just get that promotion, find the right relationship, or solve that one problem, then I'd be happy. But every time I reached those milestones, the happiness lasted about as long as morning mist. Why? Because I was looking outside myself for something that could only be found within. You're probably doing the same thing right now. You're waiting for external circumstances to align perfectly before you give yourself permission to be truly happy. But those circumstances will never align. There will always be another problem to solve, another goal to reach, another hurdle to overcome. The happiest version of you isn't waiting for problems to disappear. They've learned to dance with uncertainty. They've made peace with imperfection. But let me warn you about something dangerous. There's a part of you that doesn't want you to meet this happiest version of yourself. It's the part that thrives on drama, that feeds on problems, that actually enjoys being miserable because misery feels familiar. This part of you has been running the show for so long, it thinks it is you. It tells you stories about why you can't be happy. It points to your past failures. It reminds you of your limitations. It whispers that happiness is for other people, not for someone like you. Listen carefully. That voice is not you. It's the voice of your conditioning. It's every criticism you've ever internalized. It's every fear you've ever carried. It's every limiting belief you've ever accepted as truth. The happiest version of you knows better. They've learned to observe that voice without being controlled by it. They've discovered that thoughts are just mental weather patterns. They come and go. But they don't define who you are. And here's what most people don't understand about happiness. It's not a feeling. Feelings come and go. Joy comes and goes. Excitement comes and goes. But happiness, true happiness, is a way of being. It's a deep sense of okayness with life as it is, not as you think it should be. You want to know the secret to meeting this version of yourself? Stop trying so hard to be happy. Stop chasing it. Stop making it conditional. Start being curious about what's preventing it instead. Right now you have beliefs about yourself that aren't serving you. You have stories about your past that keep you trapped. You have fears about your future that steal your present moment peace. These are the barriers between you and your happiest self. The work isn't to add more happiness to your life. The work is to remove what's blocking it. Think about a time when you were genuinely happy as a child. Not excited because you got a toy, not pleased because someone praised you, but that deep, bubbling sense of aliveness that needed no reason to exist. That's your natural state. That's who you really are underneath all the layers of learned unhappiness. But somewhere along the way, you learned to be unhappy. You learned that love was conditional. You learned that you weren't good enough as you were. You learned that life was hard and you had to struggle to deserve good things. Nobody sat you down and taught you these lessons explicitly. You absorbed them through 1,000 small experiences: a parent's disapproval, a teacher's criticism, a friend's rejection. Each experience added another layer of protection around your authentic self. Here's what breaks my heart. You've been protecting yourself from pain so thoroughly that you've also protected yourself from joy. The walls you built to keep hurt out have also kept love from getting in, including your own love for yourself. The happiest version of you has learned to be vulnerable again. Not recklessly vulnerable, wisely vulnerable. They've learned the difference between being open and being naive. They've discovered that protecting your heart by closing it off is like protecting your lungs by holding your breath. You cannot live fully while hiding from life. You cannot love deeply while guarding against heartbreak. You cannot be truly happy while playing it safe. But here's where it gets tricky. Your mind will resist this truth with everything it has. It will give you 1,000 logical reasons why you need to stay protected. It will remind you of every time you were hurt when you opened up. It will paint vivid pictures of all the ways things could go wrong. This is normal. This is expected. This is not a sign that you should stop. It's a sign that you're getting close to a breakthrough. The mind's job is to keep you safe, not to make you happy. It would rather have you miserable and secure than joyful and uncertain. It's like an overprotective parent that never lets you leave the house because the world might be dangerous. But the happiest version of you has learned to love their mind without being enslaved by it. They appreciate its protective instincts while making their own choices about how to live. Let me tell you what this looks like practically. The happiest version of you doesn't avoid difficult emotions. They feel them fully and let them pass. They don't pretend everything is perfect. They find beauty in imperfection. They don't wait for ideal conditions. They create meaning in ordinary moments. When someone hurts them, they feel the pain without carrying it forever. When they make mistakes, they learn without drowning in shame. When they face uncertainty, they trust without needing guarantees. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't denial. This is radical acceptance of what is, combined with the wisdom to know what you can and cannot control. You can't control what happens to you. You can't control other people's choices, but you can control your response. And your response, not your circumstances, determines your experience of life. The happiest version of you has mastered this truth. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a victim of your interpretations of your circumstances. Two people can go through identical experiences and have completely different reactions. One sees opportunity where the other sees obstacle. One grows stronger where the other grows bitter. The difference isn't in their circumstances. It's in their relationship with their circumstances. Right now, you have a relationship with your past, your present, and your future. You have a relationship with your thoughts, your emotions, and your body. You have a relationship with other people and with life itself. Most of these relationships are unconscious. You've never examined them. They just happened through conditioning and circumstance, but you can change any relationship by changing your awareness of it. The moment you become conscious of a pattern, you have the power to change it. The happiest version of you has done this work. They've examined their relationship with failure and transformed it from shame into learning. They've examined their relationship with rejection and transformed it from devastation into redirection. They've examined their relationship with uncertainty and transformed it from anxiety into adventure. This doesn't happen overnight. This isn't a switch you flip. This is a practice you cultivate, moment by moment, choice by choice. You're there. Your delights develop as you're anticipated. Every time you catch yourself in an old pattern and choose differently, you're meeting your happiest self. Every time you respond with love instead of fear, you're becoming who you're meant to be. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you're breaking free from the prison of your conditioning. But let me share something crucial with you. The journey to meet your happiest self isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been underneath all the layers of learned limitations. You were born happy. You were born whole. You were born worthy of love and belonging. Everything that suggests otherwise is something you picked up along the way. And anything you picked up, you can put down. The beliefs that limit you aren't permanent features of reality. They're temporary visitors in the house of your consciousness. You've been such a good host to them that you forgot they were guests. You thought they owned the place. It's time to reclaim your house. It's time to decide which thoughts get to stay and which ones need to leave. It's time to become the conscious curator of your own experience. The happiest version of you knows that you are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the one who experiences your emotions. You are not your circumstances. You are the one who responds to your circumstances. This awareness changes everything. When you realize you are the observer, not the observed, you step into your power. You stop being a victim of your mental and emotional weather and start being the sky that holds it all. Right now there are thoughts running through your mind that you didn't consciously choose. There are emotions moving through your body that you didn't deliberately create. There are reactions happening that feel automatic and uncontrollable, but none of this is actually automatic. It just feels that way because you've been running on unconscious programs for so long. The moment you bring consciousness to these processes, you gain the ability to influence them. The happiest version of you has learned to watch their thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. They don't judge them as good or bad. They simply observe them with curious detachment. They've discovered that when you stop fighting your thoughts, they lose their power over you. When a fearful thought arises, they notice it without becoming it. When an angry thought appears, they acknowledge it without acting from it. When a sad thought emerges, they feel it without being consumed by it. This isn't suppression. This isn't denial. This is the difference between experiencing an emotion and being hijacked by it. It's the difference between having a thought and being had by it. They've learned that between every stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space lies your freedom. In that space lies your power. In that space, you get to choose who you're going to be. This space exists right now. It's always been there. You've just been moving too fast to notice it. But now you know. And knowing changes everything. The next time you feel triggered by something, instead of automatically reacting, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what would my happiest self do in this situation? Then do that. The next time you catch yourself in a negative thought spiral, instead of following it down the rabbit hole, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this thought serving me? If not, gently redirect your attention to something that does. The next time you're faced with a difficult decision, instead of choosing from fear, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what choice would I make if I trusted that everything is working out for my highest good? Then make that choice. These small moments of conscious choice are how you meet your happiest self. Not through grand gestures or dramatic transformations, but through 1,000 tiny decisions to show up differently than you have before. The happiest version of you isn't perfect. They don't have all the answers. They don't live in a world without problems, but they have something infinitely more valuable than perfection. They have peace with imperfection. They've learned that happiness isn't about having a perfect life. It's about having a perfect relationship with an imperfect life. It's about finding the sacred in the ordinary, the extraordinary in the mundane, the beautiful in the broken. You don't have to wait until you've solved all your problems to be happy. You don't have to wait until you've healed all your wounds. You don't have to wait until you've achieved all your goals. Your happiest self is available to you right now, in this moment, exactly as you are. The invitation is simple. Stop looking for yourself in your achievements and start finding yourself in your awareness. Stop seeking yourself in other people's approval and start recognizing yourself in your own acceptance. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to be happy and start being happy in this imperfect moment. Your happiest self isn't a destination you're traveling toward. They're a presence you're learning to embody. They're not someone you become. They're someone you remember you've always been. The journey home to yourself begins with a single step: the willingness to see yourself as you truly are, not as you think you should be. The courage to love yourself as you are, not as you imagine you need to become. The wisdom to know that you are already whole, already worthy, already enough. The happiest version of you is waiting to be recognized, not created. They're waiting to be remembered, not discovered. They're waiting for you to stop looking everywhere else and finally look within. That meeting can happen today. That meeting can happen right now. All it requires is your willingness to come home to yourself, to the peace that has never left you, to the love that you are, to the happiness that is your birthright. The question isn't whether you can meet your happiest self. The question is, when will you stop postponing the introduction? Right now, as you're listening to these words, your happiest self is already present. They're in the part of you that recognizes truth when you hear it. They're in the part of you that yearns for something deeper than surface happiness. They're in the quiet voice that whispers yes when you encounter authentic wisdom. But here's what might surprise you. Your happiest self doesn't look the way you think they should. They don't have perfect circumstances. They don't live without challenges. Your happiest self might be sitting in the same chair you're sitting in right now, facing the same problems you're facing. The only difference is how they relate to it all. They've learned that happiness isn't about changing your life, It's about changing your relationship with your life. It's not about getting different cards. It's about playing the hand you've been dealt with grace and acceptance. I want you to think about someone in your life who embodies this quality. Maybe it's someone who went through tremendous hardship, but somehow maintained their inner light. Maybe it's someone who doesn't have much by society's standards, but radiates contentment. Maybe it's someone who faces each day with curiosity instead of dread. What you're recognizing in them is their alignment with their authentic self. They're not performing happiness, they're being it. They're not trying to convince anyone they're okay. They actually are okay, deep down where it counts. This alignment is available to you too, but it requires something most people aren't willing to do. It requires you to stop abandoning yourself. You abandon yourself every time you say yes when you mean no. You abandon yourself every time you pretend to be someone you're not to gain approval. You abandon yourself every time you ignore your intuition to follow someone else's advice about your life. Your happiest self has learned to be loyal to their own truth, even when it's inconvenient, even when it disappoints people, even when it means standing alone for a while. Loyalty isn't selfishness, it's self-respect. It's recognizing that you can't give what you don't have. You can't love others authentically if you don't love yourself. You can't be present for anyone else if you're not present for yourself. The path to meeting your happiest self is paved with small acts of self-loyalty. It's choosing the relationship that feels right over the one that looks right. It's choosing the work that feeds your soul over the work that just feeds your ego. It's choosing authenticity over approval, even when authenticity feels scary. Each time you make these choices, you're not just changing your circumstances, you're changing your identity. You're shifting from being someone who abandons themselves to someone who honors themselves. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more authentic you become, the more connected you feel to others. The more you honor your own truth, the more space you create for others to honor theirs. Your happiest self knows this secret. They've discovered that the very thing you think makes you selfish, caring for your own desires and needs, the thing that makes you most useful to the world. But the journey requires patience with yourself. It requires compassion for your own process. It requires understanding that becoming authentic is like learning to walk. You're going to stumble, and that's perfectly normal. Your happiest self didn't emerge overnight. They emerged through countless moments of choosing love over fear, truth over comfort, growth over stagnation. They emerged by learning to forgive themselves for being human while still holding themselves accountable for growth. This is the meeting that awaits you, not with some idealized version of yourself, but with the real you. The you that exists beneath the masks, beyond the roles, deeper than the stories you've been telling about who you are. That meeting is not just possible, it's inevitable. The only question is when you'll stop resisting it and start welcoming it home. Look around you right now. Notice where you are. Notice what you're feeling. Notice the thoughts moving through your mind. This moment, exactly as it is where the meeting happens. Not in some future version of your life when everything is perfect. Not when you finally figured it all out. Right here, right now. Your unhappiest self is always waiting for a better moment. They're always postponing joy until conditions improve. They're living in a constant state of when this happens, then I'll be happy. But your happiest self knows that this moment is the only moment you actually have. They've learned to find richness in ordinary Tuesday afternoons. They've discovered that happiness isn't waiting in your next achievement, it's hidden in your next breath. They've realized that the present moment isn't something to get through on your way to somewhere better. It's the destination itself. This shift in perspective changes everything. When you stop treating your current life as a waiting room for your real life to begin, you start noticing the miracles that have been there all along. The way sunlight moves across your wall, the sound of your own breathing, the simple fact that you exist at all in this vast universe. Your happiest self doesn't need anything to be different to feel grateful. They've found the secret that mystics and sages have been pointing to for thousands of years. Paradise isn't a place you go. It's a way you see, but there will be days when you forget all of this. Days when you slip back into old patterns. This doesn't mean you're failing. This means you're human. Your happiest self isn't someone who never struggles. They're someone who struggles consciously. They don't avoid difficult times. They move through them with awareness and grace. The meeting with your happiest self isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing relationship. It's a daily choice to remember who you really are beneath all the noise. It's a practice of coming home to yourself again and again, especially when you feel most lost. To start today. Start now. Stop looking for yourself in tomorrow and start finding yourself in this moment. Your happiest self has been waiting your whole life for this recognition. They're ready when you are.